Hey folks, Mr. Mathblog here, and I hope you guys are doing well. In this lesson we're going to multiply fractions again with whole numbers, and we're going to use models, and then we're going to try and find a pattern with this, you guys. So let's go ahead and get started here. So our Common Core strand is here, and our essential question is how can we use a model to demonstrate multiplying a fraction by a whole number? And then we're going to find patterns also, you guys. I probably should have put something in there also. How can we use patterns? Because we're going to do that in this lesson as well. Okay, so here's our prior knowledge here. So using models, find the next four multiples of each fraction. So I'm going to use fraction strips on both of these. So for the 2/3, I'm going to do fraction strip into thirds and shade two of them. So there's 1 times 2/3. That's what this one is right here. Okay, so there's 2 out of the 3 shaded right here. So that's what this one is. So here's 2 of the 2/3. So 2 of 2/3 gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 of them shaded. So there's 4 third size pieces shaded. So that would be 4/3 right there. Okay, let's do another fraction strip of 2/3. Here we have 3 2/3 strips shaded. So out of that we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 thirds shaded. So here's 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3, so 6/3. So there's my next multiple there. Okay, are you guys seeing a pattern yet? If not, that's okay. We'll discuss it later. All right, so here's 4 2/3 strips shaded. So that's going to get me 8 of these guys shaded. So there's 8 thirds shaded. So that's the next multiple of 2/3. Okay, and let's do one more, you guys. So here is 5 2/3 strips shaded, and that's going to get me 2 more shaded strips right there. So that's 10 third size strips. Okay, all right, let's do this. I'm going to do a fraction strip with 3/4. So I'm going to shade 3 of the 4. So there's one fraction strip, which this should say 1 times 2/3 right there. It's as my students say, my bad. I don't know where that came from, you guys, but anyway, so it's there's one fraction strip of 3/4 right there. So that's my first multiple of 3/4. Okay, so here's 2. Did I do that one? I did. Okay, I was just thinking ahead, I suppose. So here's 2 3/4 strips shaded. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 fourth size strips shaded. Boy, that's a tongue twister. Say that several times fast. All right, so that's 6/4 right there. Okay, let's do another 3/4 strip shaded right here. So there's 3 of them. So that's going to shade 9 of them. So there's 9 fourth size strips being shaded. Boy, I got to talk slow when I say all of that. There's another one. So 4 of them is going to get me 12 of them shaded. So 12 fourth size strips shaded. And then finally, there's 5 fourth size strips shaded and 3/4 of them being shaded. So 5 times 3/4 ends up being 15/4. And if I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 out of the fourth size strips are being shaded. So here's the multiples of 3/4, 6/4, 9/4, 12/4, and 15/4. Look, the denominators are staying the same. The numerators we're just adding plus 3, plus 3, plus 3, plus 3. Over here, the denominator stayed the same. We just added plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, plus 2. Okay? We'll talk more about that pattern in just a minute here. All right, so let's try a problem here. So Tiffany practices her drums for 3/4 hour each day. She has a concert in 3 days. How much time will she practice in 3 days? Okay, so how many equal groups of 3/4 should we model? We're going to use models here. So since she does 3/4 hour each day and she's going to do this in 3 days, she has a concert in 3 days. So we're going to model 3 of the 3/4 strips right there, okay? And then so we're going to use our model to multiply 3 times 3/4. All right, I've been using fraction strips. I'm going to use the pi fraction. I don't know what you guys call this right here. So here's a circle right here, and I divided it up into 4 right here, and I shaded 3 of them. So this will represent the one day. This is one group of 3/4 right here. So remember, each day she does 3/4 of an hour, and she's going to do it for 3 days. So let's do another one. So here's a second day. So here's 2 groups of 3/4, or 2 days of 3/4 hour each day. So if you notice, they're in fourths, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's why there's 6/4 being shaded. All right, and then so 3 days is going to be 3 groups of 3/4. So now I have 9 of them shaded, 9 of the fourth size shaded, so there's 9/4 out of 3 days. So 3 times 3/4 just equals 9/4, okay? And if you've seen a pattern, good for you. So Tiffany will practice for, how much is she going to practice for? She's going to practice for 9/4 hours in all. Okay, how many hours is that in between, you guys? Remember how we did that? We divided how many groups of 4 can go into 9? 2. 4 goes into 9 2 times with 1 left over, so it's a little bit over 2 hours total. Anyways, 9/4 hours. We'll write it like that for right now, okay? All right, so if you multiply 4 times 2, 6, is the product greater than or less than 4? Well, that's a good question, you guys. Well, think of this, you guys. 2, 6 is a number that's less than 1. So you know that 4 groups of 2, 6 is going to be less than 4 groups of 1, because 4 groups of 1 is going to be 4. So 4 groups of 2, 6 is going to be less than 4, because 2, 6 is less than 1, and 4 groups of 1 equals 4. So 4 groups of 2, 6 will be less than that. How much less than? We'll talk about that later, you guys. I just want to know it's less than. Also, you guys, 4 times 2, 6 equals 8, 6. And 8, 6, remember what we just talked about, 6 goes into 8 one time, and there'd be 2 left over, so it equals 1 and 2, 6. And 1 and 2, 6 is less than 4, okay? All right, so explain how you can use repeated addition with the model to find the product of 3 times 3/4. Okay, remember that problem we just did with Tiffany and her drums playing? I used to play the drums, by the way, for a long time. That was fun. So just like in our example with Tiffany, there were 3 circles. Each of them had 3/4 of the circle shaded. So we could use 3/4 as the add-end 3 times. So we just added those 3/4 of each circle with Tiffany. 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4 equaled 9/4. Okay, so that's what this represents. This says 3 groups of 3/4. So I just add, that just means 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4. Okay, all right, so Tiffany's daily practice of 3/4 hour is in sessions that last for 1/4 of an hour each. Okay, what that means, you guys, is for the 3/4 hours she practices, she doesn't do it all in one spot. She does it 1/4, 1/4, 1/4 each day. Okay, do you guys know how many minutes a fourth of an hour is? You can talk about that with your teacher. But anyways, so describe how the model shows the number of practice sessions Tiffany has in each day. Remember, she doesn't do it 3/4 of an hour all at once. Each day she divides her 3/4 of an hour up into a fourth of an hour each. Okay, so each day for 3 days she does 3/4 of an hour, but they're divided up into a fourth of an hour each. Okay, so here's one day, you guys, okay? One day she does 3/4 of an hour, but she divides it up into 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. So there's 3 times she practices in one day, because here's 3/4 of an hour. Does that make sense, you guys? There's 3 1/4 pieces in the first day. So let's do that for the second day. That's going to give her 6 times she's practiced. So she practiced 3/4 of an hour, but in 1/4 session. So 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. So there's 6 fourth size pieces, okay? Then on the final day, that's going to give her 9 fourth size times that she's practiced, or sessions we called it, so 9 fourth size sessions. So Tiffany will have 9 practice sessions because there are 9 fourth size pieces shaded, okay? So we're just trying to trick you here, you guys. So don't let them get too tricky on you or confuse you too much, you guys. I hope that helped. Okay, so here's another example. So use a pattern to multiply fractions. Okay, so here's where the patterns come in. I think this is pretty cool. So far we've used models to represent repeated addition to multiply a fraction by whole numbers. So we like the pizza thing, or the pie thing we did with Tiffany's practice. We used the model right there. In this example, we're going to look for patterns to discover another way. So I'm going to use fraction strips. Okay, now don't let this confuse you. I'm going to shrink that up, because I'm going to fill up this whole page with a table right here, okay? So my kids, when they see that, they go, ah! So let's just talk about this for a second over here. Okay, so here I have 2 1/5 size fraction strips being shaded. Here I have 2 2/5 size fraction strips being shaded. Here I have 2 3/5 size fraction strips being shaded. Do you see how there's this cut up in 5, and 3 of them are being shaded, and here's another 3 of them being shaded. So there's two of them, two of the 3/5 being shaded. Here, there's two fraction strips, but only 2/5 being shaded. Here, there's two fraction strips with just one fraction strip being shaded. So that's what this is 2 times a fifth. This is 2 times the 2/5 being shaded, and this one's 2 times the 3/5. So what whole number is being used right here? The whole number being used is these 2's right here, or are these 2's? Sorry, bad English. Okay, so the whole numbers are all those 2's right there. Okay, so what fraction size, what's the size of each group? Here, the size of these groups is 1/5. The size of these two fraction strips is 2/5. The size of these two fraction strips are 3/5 right here. So that's what goes right here. So it's 1/5 of a whole, 2/5 of a whole, and 3/5 of a whole. Okay, and then their product is, you guys, okay, here's the product. Okay, these are in fifth size pieces. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So I have 2/5. That's going to be the product here. Right here I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4/5. That's what's going to go over here. Right here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6/5 size pieces right there. So that's what's going right there. All right, now I'm going to shrink that up. There it is right there. Okay, that's just what I did. I just shrunk it up. Okay, so then I noticed it said something like this. So when you multiply a fraction by a whole number, the numerator in the product, which is the answer, this is the product right here. So the numerator, which is this 2, which is this 4, which is this 6 right here, the numerator is the product of, okay, did you see this, you guys? Look, this times this is this. This number, which is 2 if you can see it, times this red 2 is this 4. Notice the denominator stayed the same. This 3 times this 2 gave me this 6. Notice the denominator stayed the same. So when you multiply a fraction by a whole number, the numerator in the product, this numerator, this 2, this 4, this 6, that's what it's talking about, is the product of this whole number over here, which is 2, and the numerator of the fraction. So 2 times 3 equals 6. Okay, so this whole number times this numerator gave me this answer right here. Okay, and the denominator in the product, okay, which is the answer over here, the denominator in the product is the same as the denominator of the fraction that we started with. Okay, so this is going to be whole number, this is going to be numerator, and this is going to be the denominator of the fraction right there. Okay. All right, that's what that's trying to say right there. So what they wanted you to recognize, when you're multiplying fractions, I just multiply the whole number times the numerator and keep the denominator the same, okay? 2 times 3 equals 6, and since we're talking about fifths, it's 6/5. Okay, so let's summarize. How can you multiply a fraction by a whole number without using a model of repeated addition? Okay, we just talked about it. We multiply the whole number by the numerator only and keep the denominator the same, okay? Pretty slick. So describe two different ways you can find the product of 2 times 3/4. Okay, well, now let's do it the quick way, you guys. 2 times 3 is 6, so this is actually 6/4. That's the way we just summarized that. Well, let's do old school. Here's one way. Show two fourth size fraction strips and shade 3 parts in each. So here's fourth size fraction strips right here, and we shaded 3 parts in each right here because we're doing 2 of the 3/4. Remember, of means multiply. 2 times 3/4, or 2 of the 3/4 is going to get me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is going to get me 6/4. So you count the total number of shaded parts and write that sum over 4, okay, over the denominator. The other way is what we just talked about, you guys. You multiply the whole number times the numerator, so multiply the 2 times the 3 and write that product over the denominator, the same denominator 4. 2 times 3 is 6. All over 4. 2 times 3 is 6, all over 4, the same denominator. All right, I hope that helps you guys. And again, if you're watching this stuff at home and you have a YouTube account, just hit like and subscribe. That would be cool. All right, take care, everybody. I hope that helps.